Now with learning objective C, we're going to multiply rational expressions that are binomials and trinomials. So we do have to be cautious in what our groups look like. So if we look at example 4 here, this first group, I'm going to put parentheses around the tops of the fractions and the bottoms. And if any of the groups naturally match, I'm going to cross them off automatically. Now the only thing I can see that matches is something back from chapter 6. This x here and this x here. Keep in mind when you multiply two fractions together, they just become one fraction. So you can actually just do that as a shortcut. But if you look at it, these two x's will technically cancel out because that's back what we had in chapter 6. So I'm just going to cross it off now and just write what I have left. 3 x squared minus 9, and then 4 x minus 12, all in parentheses. Now, none of these groups match right now, but what I need to do is stop and see, look at the groups that are binomials or trinomials. I need to look at these groups and see if I can pull anything out of that or factor them. The 3 stays there, but x squared minus 9 is factorable into two groups. Keep in mind there's no middle term. So what I'm going to do is take x squared and break it up here and here into x and x. I'm going to take factors of negative 9, so either negative 9 and 1 or negative 3 and 3, such that you notice there's no middle term at 0. So if I do plus 3 and minus 3, I'm going to confirm that there's no middle term. That'd be plus 3x, that'd be minus 3x. That adds to 0, so that is the right combination. Now, on the bottom, I can actually pull out of both of these a factor of 4. So I'm going to pull the 4 out. I'm going to do 4x divided by 4, so that's just x. And negative 12 divided by 4 is a negative 3. Now I'm going to look for groups to cross off. I have an x minus 3 group here and here I can cross off. I keep the 3 on the top, the x plus 3 on the top, divide the whole thing by 4, and that's our simplified answer. This next one here, I'm going to start this way. I'm going to multiply them together, so I'm just going to make it one long fraction. But I'm going to keep them in their groups, so I'm going to put the parentheses around the groups. I have to be very careful with the plussing and minusing, so I can only cross off if I see that identical group or this one. Now, this x squared and this x, that's just like normal chapter 6. This is a single x, this is a single x squared, so I can get rid of this x, and then I can get rid of the squared, so I'm just left with 1. If I rewrite that so far, I'll have 2, and then 2x minus 4. Then in my group on the bottom, I have 3x minus 6. And keep them in their groups. Don't get rid of those parentheses yet. Now nothing quite matches. I have 3 unique groups. I have this, this, and that. Nothing can cross off. However, I can pull out of these two terms a 2. So I'm going to keep the original 2 and put the new 2 I'm going to pull out. 2x divided by 2 is x. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Down below, I can pull the 3 out of both of those. 3x divided by 3 is x. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Now clearly you can see x minus 2 group gets crossed off. And what I'm left with on the top is 2 times 2 or 4 over 3. This is 4/3. Let's look at this one. I'm going to keep this as a group because it's plus and minus and keep that as 1. I'm going to make it one big fraction. Again, if you look at it, here's 3x's down here. There's 1x, like back in chapter 6. I'm going to get rid of this 1x, and this 3x, or x cubed, will now become x squared. Okay, I'm going to rewrite it. 4x plus 8, always keep it in your parenthesis group. And then there's a 6. On the bottom, x squared minus 4. Again, I see 4 groups here, 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 and here. Nothing crosses off naturally. However, this group here, I can pull out a 4. So 4x divided by 4 is going to get us 1x. Plus 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then the 6 is still out here. X squared stays there. This can be factored into 2 binomials. Again, if it's a squared, odds are it can go into 2 groups. X squared gets broken up here and here into x and x. Factors of -4 would go here and here. And I'm trying to find the combo that this times itself and this times itself adds to no term in the middle, so a 0x. Factors of -4 that add to 0 would be -2 and +2. You can double check it. This is -2x, +2x, adds to 0, I'm good. Now, a natural group that can be crossed off, I see an x plus 2, cross that and that. On the top, what I'm left with is 4 times 6, or 24. On the bottom, I have an x squared, and I have x minus 2. And that is the final answer. Let's look at these last two for more practice. 36 is 2 trinomials, so keep that as one big group and one big group. Those two are clearly not the same groups of 3. You can't cross them off. However, this top one is factorable into 2 groups. And you factor things, again, that have, like if it's an x squared, you can probably factor it into 2 groups. So the x squared goes here and here. I have to think of factors of -16 that will add to 6x. Well, either 16 and 1, 4 and 4, or 8 and 2. I can get -16 by doing -8 times 2, or I could do 8 times -2, because it has to add to a middle term of 6x. So if I do plus 8 minus 2, that multiplies to -16. That would be 8x, -2x. That would add to 6x, so the top looks good. The bottom, I'm going to factor that x squared into 2 groups of x and x. Now I have to think of factors of -24 that will add up to 10. Numbers that get you 24 could be 6 times 4. That would add up to 10. You have to get -24 though, so you'd have to do -6 and +4. That would add to -2, or 6 and -4, which would add to 2. That's actually not going to work. We could try 12 and 2. I have to get -24, so what if we do -12 and a +2? That'd be -24. That adds to -10. I need a +10, so switch it. Try a +12 and a -2. That would add to 10. So I'm going to do +12 minus 2. Double check. That's 12x. That's -2x. These two add to the 10x listed above. Now there's a group that can cancel out. It's the x minus 2. So I'm with x plus 8 over x plus 12 is what I'm left with. And you guys, odds are something's going to cross off. So as we were trying to come up with these two combinations down here, maybe didn't see 12 and 2 right away. Because there was a 2 up here, maybe I was going to end up using the 2. The last one here is 44. So we have one group here of x plus 3, x squared minus 9. This is again back from chapter 6. I'm going to cross off this one x and get rid of one of the squareds down here, so it's just x to the first power. So I'm left with on the top a group of x plus 3. X squared minus 9 can be factored into 2 groups. The squared is going to be x and x. Factors of -9 that add to 0, plus 3 minus 3. And then I still have, don't forget, a 4x sitting out here. What crosses off naturally here is an x plus 3 and an x plus 3. Be careful, there's nothing left on the top. So you have to put something there, either a 1 or a 0. A placeholder is just a 1 sitting there. If you put a 0, the whole thing disappears. So then I'm going to write it x minus 3 and 4x. And that would be your final answer. Typically, we write the monomial first, so you probably would see it written as 4x and then x minus 3 on the bottom. Let's take a look at 45. Here's a group, there's a group, and there's a group. Nothing naturally cancels out, but I can write it as one big fraction. I'm going to keep the x cubed. I'm going to factor this. This factors into x plus 2, x plus 1. That'll give me a middle term of 3x. Down below, we have x plus 1, x plus 2. Everything pretty much crosses off from the bottom, so that goes, that goes. Final answer is x cubed. The last one, there's a group, and that's a group. I'm going to cross off these x squareds. There's 2 of them there. Here's x cubed. I'm going to get rid of 2 of them, just be left with x to the first. Again, it's one big problem. I'm going to go ahead and pull out of these 2 a 5. Be left with x plus 9. And then the other 3x. This bottom factors into x plus 9 and x minus 9. Then you can see what we can naturally cross off would be this and this. Your final answer, you're going to crunch together the 5 times the 3, which is 15. Don't forget the x, and then do x minus 9. And that'll be your final answer.